From the most trusted names in local news, KDPG Sunday Edition.
Good morning and welcome to the KDPG Sunday Edition. I'm Stacy Smith. With the end of the regular NFL football season, this program is now being seen on Sunday mornings at 11:30. And the end of the regular NFL season was also the end of the Pittsburgh Steelers regular season. For the Steelers, the season is over. There are no playoffs. And if that were not enough, controversy is now swirling around the Steelers, and it began as soon as last weekend's game with the Cincinnati Bengals had ended. Why didn't wide receiver Antonio Brown show up for practice, and why was he missing from that game? Bob Pompiani has more on what happened this past week.
The last we saw of Antonio Brown was on the field in a very expensive coat. He was told he was not going to play after he failed to get a scheduled MRI on what he called leg discomfort. He then missed the rest of the week of work with no communication with his coach, his owner, or his teammates, all of whom reached out to him.
We take his lack of communication, his lack of presence, particularly on Saturday prior to the game, to be something that's very significant and will be handled appropriately so. I'm not going to speculate on trades and things of that nature. We haven't formally received a request in that regard. So I'm not going to speculate. I'm not going to speculate in terms of where the discipline might go and things of that nature. Just know that it's going to be addressed, and it will be addressed and needs to be addressed.
Amazingly, Brown, while Tomlin's press conference was going on, did take the time to go on Instagram Live with James Harrison, who promised an exclusive interview. Regardless of Brown's motivation for essentially quitting on his team, former NFL tight end Shannon Sharp was sharp in his criticism of Brown.
Most important game of the Pittsburgh Steelers season didn't matter to Antonio Brown. What mattered to Antonio Brown was Antonio Brown. Selfish. See, Antonio said, I just want to win. I just want to win. You got that soft-spoken voice, I just want to win. No, you don't. You want to win, but you need 12 catches. You need $150 and 2 touchdowns. He started missing meetings way before. And then you gave him security with that long-term deal, Skip. Skip, remember I told you, Skip, money don't change who you are. It makes you more of what you already are. So if you a jerk and you ain't got no money, you become a gaping you-know-what if you get some money.
Well, this morning on the KDPG Sunday Edition, the challenges that the Steelers are facing and how they could influence the NFL franchise and its roster in the coming years. Our guests are two men who have covered the Steelers all season. Jerry Dulac is a sports writer with the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette, and Jerry broke this latest Antonio Brown controversy story. Chris Mack is co-host of the Intercom Radio 93.7 The Fan morning show. Sally Stapleton, the managing editor of the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette, joins me for this morning's discussion. Sally, welcome again, and Happy New Year to every one of you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Jerry, let's start with you. Give us more of a background from what Bob just gave us, because you broke this story about Antonio. I should, as I said, this latest controversy.
I was going to say, Stacey, it's just really, it's kind of the tip of the iceberg, because this has been brewing for a long time, and not just this season. We've seen a change in Antonio Brown. For 5 years I did a radio show, and I like the guy. He's an engaging guy. He has $1 million smile. He lights up the room. He has a fun personality. But when you see him, when you're around him this year, and I don't mean me personally, I mean just seeing him in the locker room and in the facility, he's different. And that was said to me as far back as August by somebody in upper management, that something's different about Antonio Brown this year. And whatever that baggage is or those problems are that he's bringing into the building, you could just see it little by little. And, it's the Monday meeting after the Kansas City game when he was pouting, for which he was fined. The outside stuff, the lawsuit in Florida. I can't qualify how much that bothers him. The 100-mile-per-hour speeding ticket. Those things aren't big deals to the Steelers per se. They would prefer that not happen. But this latest episode, and whatever triggered it, I don't think it was the incident Wednesday. That was kind of the fuse. But whatever it was, it then exploded. And skipping practice, electing to not practice with your teammates. Getting into the dispute with Ben Roethlisberger is what started it. Not returning your coach's phone calls, skipping the walkthrough Saturday morning, skipping the team meeting at the hotel Saturday night, and then Sunday morning not even being man enough to call your coach, having your agent call the coach to say my client is ready to play. So imagine a guy who skips practice, skips all the meetings, does not return his coach's phone calls, and then incredulously shows up at Heinz Field thinking, oh, it's okay, I can still play. And it's hard for anybody, including their teammates, to wrap their arms around that type of mindset with a player who would think that way, that it's okay now to play after doing all that.
Well, the way you've described it, it sounds as if he believes, again, by the way you describe it, that he's bigger than the team.
Oh, absolutely. There's no question about it. And I think, you know, a year ago, Ryan Clark on national TV talked about how Antonio Brown is perpetrating a fraud on everybody, that he talks about wanting to win, and when in fact all he cares about are his numbers, and he's very selfish. And there are a lot of people who would agree with that
because he won at least 1 or 2 games this season. He complained about the numbers, right?
Yeah, and that's nothing new. You know, we saw last year, you know, the incident arguing with Todd Haley, knocking the Gatorade bucket over in Cincinnati. Those are minor things. They can deal with that. They can deal with the Facebook Live video, you know, before the New England game. They don't like it, but they can handle it. But this is as a professional athlete, this is your most egregious on your teammates. You are electing not to practice, and I think it bothered some guys that they protected him by coming up with this bogus knee injury, which he never was really hurt. But I get that from a coach's standpoint. You try to protect your players. I get that.
Yeah, they're going to try to do that.
Absolutely.
And Chris, I want to bring you in because you delve on both sides. You cover the team itself, and you hear from the fans. What are you hearing?
They're fed up, Stacey. I mean, that's what this boils down to at this point, is fans are fed up because as long as the team's winning, fans will put up with a lot. I mean, look, last year there was a line of distractions. You know, you had one receiver piping off towards another, Martavis Bryant going after Juju Smith-Schuster on social media. The team went 13-3, and you didn't sense a lack of satisfaction from the fan base or a real frustration boiling over until the team lost in the playoffs. And now this year, the team doesn't even get to the playoffs. And you look at the, again, litany of distractions, issues. We kept a list of them on the morning show this year, 2 pages long, that go all the way back to when Ben Roethlisberger complained about the drafting of Mason Rudolph, way back this spring. So this team has long been able to get over those distractions, plow through them, move ahead, and actually come out better for it on the other side. This year, they weren't able to.
So we're heading into the weekend, and as a football fan, I'm all excited, but it does have a tinge of what if, because at the end of December, it looked like our side of the state had a playoff possibility and the eastern side did not, and now it's topsy-turvy. That's the joy of football, but can you put that into perspective as to how that happened?
For the first time in a long time, Jerry, a Mike Tomlin team didn't really play as well as they should have in December. I mean, this is a team that routinely has picked up their game year after year when crunch time has arrived in December and then into January. And I don't know if it was the distractions, perhaps, if it was the lack of Le'Veon Bell, some may say. Whatever it was, this team was not able to get it together in December when they had to.
Yeah, I agree, Chris, and it's there's no question it's a very talented team, and it's a playoff type of team. It's a Super Bowl capable team, but they did not do it. You know, Bill Parcells years ago, and I subscribe to this all the time, is that he says your record says what you are, and they are a 9-6-1 football team, and they weren't good enough. They weren't good enough to get into the postseason. You know, you look at the game in Denver, the game in Oakland, the home game against the Chargers, and the game in New Orleans.
What about the first game against Cleveland?
Right, no question. But I'm just going to look at these last 4 losses. If they make one stop in any one of those 4 games, just one defensive stop late in the game in the final 2 minutes, they win a game at one of those games and get into the postseason. But you don't even need one in each game. One stop in any one of those 4 games, they're in the postseason, and we're having a little different discussion right now.
You raise an interesting point, and you also bring out the Bell issue. Was this locker room extremely divided throughout the season? I mean, that is what it's starting to sound like.
Jerry, you're there every day.
Yeah.
I don't think it was the locker room especially divided over the Le'Veon Bell issue. I didn't get that sense.
I don't believe that. I mean, they had that little. I understand the season went on. No, you know, Stacey, it's funny. You know, just a quick microcosm. I've always felt And that when you walk in that locker room on Wednesday, you can't tell if they've won 50-0 or lost 50-0. That's one of the reasons why they're successful. They put their disappointments or successes behind them and they move forward. No, it's easy on the outside. People want to say that Mike Tomlin has lost control of the football team. He's lost control of the locker room. I don't think that at all. I will say this incident with Antonio Brown, right now, I don't want to say it's divided the locker room, but it's become a contentious point. And it would have been really curious to see what would have happened had they won and were playing this week, how they would handle it. Because I will tell you, there were players that when he showed up at that field on Sunday and thought he was going to play, that there were more than several players who were annoyed and upset and could not believe that he would even be there in that situation. And it was already creating, this divisive element. And I think it would have just gotten worse. I mean, for their sake, I think. Fortunately, it ended because it would have just, it would have mushroomed from there.
So, I read your story on Tomlin's presser 3 times, and it's very measured, almost human resources speak. But the more I read it, the more I appreciated it, because even days later, it would have been so easy to show any anger, and he did not. And He said, we don't have all the information yet, which felt very honest. But I can't imagine any other coach taking this, and I'm sure he's in his head not taking it, but what's coming next for him? How is he proceeding besides just gathering information?
Well, again, I think, Sally, the fortunate part is that the season ended, so now they had this big buffer. They don't have to worry about the locker room. They don't have to worry about how the players are going to react internally because they're not going to be together. And he hasn't been around. But I think what Mike Tomlin does and did in this instance is the same thing Art Rooney does. That they wait. They don't react. They don't react like the fan in Section 521. They sit back and they measure everything, and they have time on their side. They'll handle this, and that could include trading or getting rid of Antonio Brown in whatever form. But they will handle it. But there's no reason to do it now. Some people want Art Rooney to come out and put his fist down and say we're not going to tolerate this. That's not their style. It doesn't mean they won't handle it that way.
We will get into, Chris, with the possibility of the trade and all this kind of talk when the KDPG Sunday edition continues.